Since the dawn of civilization, humanity has wrestled with mysteries hidden in ancient texts, mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about our origins, our place in the universe, and the hidden powers that move behind the veil of history. Among the countless writings that were once revered and later rejected, none has stirred more intrigue than the Book of Enoch. This ancient manuscript, written long before the birth of Christ, contains stories so astonishing, so unsettling, and so profoundly different from what we find in the modern Bible, that one must ask why it was deliberately silenced. Why would early religious leaders, who carefully curated which writings would form the official scriptures, decide to erase a book that was once considered divinely inspired? What truths lie within its pages that were deemed too dangerous for humanity to know? The story of Enoch himself begins in the book of Genesis, where he is described as a man who walked with God and was mysteriously taken up to heaven without experiencing death. Unlike any other biblical figure, Enoch is portrayed as someone so close to the divine that God chose to reveal to him the secrets of heaven, the workings of the universe, and the hidden destiny of humanity. Yet the canonical Bible gives us only a brief glimpse of him. To truly understand the magnitude of Enoch's role, we must turn to the writings attributed to him, texts that were revered by ancient Jewish sects and early Christians, but later cast aside. The Book of Enoch is not merely a religious text, it reads like a cosmic drama filled with angelic beings, celestial journeys, forbidden knowledge, and a prophecy of judgment that spans from the beginning of time to the end of the world. One of the most striking revelations found in this book concerns the Watchers, a group of angels tasked with observing and guiding humanity. According to Enoch, these beings descended from heaven to interact with mankind, but instead of fulfilling their divine mission, they succumbed to temptation. They took human wives, teaching them hidden knowledge about the stars, the movement of the heavens, the art of warfare, and even sorcery. From these unholy unions came the Nephilim giant offspring, who were neither fully human nor fully angelic. These Nephilim, described as mighty and terrifying, began to dominate the earth, corrupting creation and plunging humanity into violence and sin. Here we see the origins of legends of giants, heroes, and demigods that appear not only in the Hebrew scriptures, but in myths across cultures worldwide. From the titans of Greek mythology to the giants of Mesopotamian lore, could it be that these stories share a common root, and that the Book of Enoch preserves one of the oldest and most detailed accounts? This revelation raises disturbing questions. If fallen angels once walked among us and corrupted humanity with forbidden knowledge, what does that say about the true history of civilization? Were the sudden leaps in ancient technology, astronomy, and architecture the result of human genius alone, or were they aided by beings not of this earth? Enoch tells us that the Watchers taught mankind how to forge weapons of war, how to use cosmetics and enchantments, and how to read the signs of the heavens. In other words, they accelerated human advancement, but at a cost. Knowledge without wisdom led to corruption, violence, and destruction. The Nephilim, in their hunger for power, consumed the resources of the earth and turned on mankind itself. It was this corruption, Enoch claims, that provoked God's judgment and ultimately led to the Great Flood, the event remembered in so many cultures as a cataclysm that wiped the slate clean. What makes all of this even more compelling is the fact that the Book of Enoch was not some obscure fringe document. In the early centuries, many communities accepted it as sacred. Fragments of it have been discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls, suggesting it was read and revered by the Essenes, a Jewish sect that lived around the time of Jesus. Even more striking, the New Testament itself references Enoch. The Epistle of Jude quotes directly from Enoch's prophecy, speaking of the Lord coming with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all. This is not speculation, it is textual evidence that the early church was familiar with and valued the teachings of Enoch. So why, then, was the book banned, hidden, and excluded from the official Bible? The simplest answer is that its contents were considered too controversial, too threatening to the theological narrative the church authorities wanted to maintain. Imagine the implications if the Book of Enoch had remained part of the scriptures. We would grow up learning not only about the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark, but also about fallen angels breeding with humanity, about heavenly secrets revealed to mortals, and about a cosmic battle between divine order and chaotic corruption. Our understanding of sin, redemption, and even the nature of evil would be dramatically different. Some scholars suggest that by removing Enoch, religious leaders sought to simplify the message of salvation, stripping away the layers of cosmic complexity and focusing on a more straightforward narrative. But others believe the suppression was more deliberate, that the knowledge within Enoch's pages exposed truths about angels, about divine beings, and about the structure of the cosmos that the powerful did not want humanity to grasp. The deeper we dive into the Book of Enoch, the clearer it becomes that this was not merely a collection of ancient myths. It presents a worldview where the heavens are not silent, where countless angelic beings move between dimensions, influencing the fate of nations and individuals. It paints a universe alive with spiritual activity, where the struggles on earth mirror larger battles in the unseen realms. And perhaps most provocatively, it suggests that humanity itself has been shaped by contact with beings that came from outside our world, bringing knowledge that advanced us, but also ensnared us in cycles of violence and destruction. This is only the beginning of what the Book of Enoch reveals, and already we see why it might have been considered too dangerous to include in the Bible. It challenges official narratives, raises unsettling questions, and forces us to rethink everything about the nature of angels, the origins of evil, and the hidden forces that shape our destiny. And yet, despite centuries of suppression, the book survived. Preserved in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, it continued to be read and revered, waiting for the time when its secrets would once again be brought to light. As we move deeper into the Book of Enoch, the revelations only grow more astonishing. Beyond the tales of fallen angels and their giant offspring, Enoch himself is portrayed as a prophet, who was taken into the very presence of God, where he witnessed the secrets of the cosmos. His writings describe journeys through multiple heavens, encounters with angelic beings of immense power, and visions of the divine throne itself. These are not vague or symbolic references. Enoch provides vivid descriptions of what he saw, the structures of the heavens, the movements of the stars, and the forces that govern the universe. For centuries, scholars and mystics have wrestled with the possibility that these passages contain not only spiritual truths, but also fragments of ancient scientific knowledge, hidden in symbolic language. Could it be that Enoch recorded glimpses of the cosmos that modern science is only now beginning to confirm? Enoch describes being taken to a place where he saw the foundations of the earth and the storehouses of the winds and the stars. He speaks of the paths of the heavenly lights, their appointed courses, and the mysteries of time itself. To the ancients, this may have seemed like divine poetry, but to the modern reader, it sparks unsettling questions. How could a text written thousands of years ago describe the mechanics of the heavens with such detail? Was this the result of divine revelation, or could it be evidence of contact with advanced beings who shared their knowledge with humanity in ways we still struggle to comprehend? This is one of the reasons why many argue that the Book of Enoch was suppressed. It blurs the line between religion, science, and something far stranger. But perhaps the most haunting sections of the book are Enoch's prophecies about judgment. He foretells the coming of a great reckoning, not only for humanity but also for the watchers who corrupted it. These fallen angels, once glorious beings of light, are condemned to the abyss, bound in darkness until the day of judgment. Here we find one of the earliest depictions of a cosmic battle between good and evil, a theme that echoes throughout later apocalyptic literature, including the Book of Revelation. Enoch's visions paint a terrifying yet awe-inspiring picture of the end of days, where the forces of corruption will be annihilated and a new order will be established under the reign of the Most High. For early Christians, these themes resonated deeply, and one can imagine how powerful, even dangerous, they might have been to those who sought to control doctrine and suppress dissent. The idea of judgment in Enoch is not limited to the fallen angels. Humanity itself is called to account. The book condemns the violence, greed, and arrogance that filled the earth during the time of the Nephilim, drawing a direct line between human sin and cosmic consequences. This resonates with the story of Noah's flood, but with a darker twist. Humanity's corruption was not simply the result of human weakness, but of external influence beings, who should have guided humanity but instead led it astray. This raises a disturbing possibility. Are we truly masters of our own destiny, or have we always been manipulated by unseen forces operating beyond our perception? For centuries, the Book of Enoch survived only in fragments, until it was preserved almost in its entirety by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. In Ethiopia, Enoch was never considered heretical. It was read as part of their holy scriptures alongside other texts excluded from the Western canon. This survival in Ethiopia has puzzled historians and theologians alike. Why was it preserved there when it was erased elsewhere? Some suggest that Ethiopia's isolation protected the text from the sweeping decisions of church councils in Rome and Constantinople. Others believe there is something providential about its preservation, that the book was meant to resurface at a specific moment in history, perhaps in our own time, when humanity is once again grappling with questions about the origins of evil, the possibility of otherworldly beings, and the true nature of the cosmos. In modern times, the Book of Enoch has taken on a new life. Scholars study it as an invaluable window into ancient Jewish thought, while others see it as evidence of hidden truths suppressed by mainstream religion. For those interested in the paranormal or the possibility of extraterrestrial life, Enoch's descriptions of heavenly beings descending to earth read like an ancient record of alien contact. The Watchers, with their forbidden knowledge and hybrid offspring, fit eerily well with stories of ancient astronauts who came down from the skies. Is it possible that Enoch's visions were not just spiritual encounters, but memories of something physical, something real? If so, then humanity's history is far stranger and more complex than we have ever imagined. Yet the enduring power of the Book of Enoch is not merely in its mysteries, but in its warnings. It tells us that knowledge can be a double-edged sword, that wisdom without morality leads to destruction, and that corruption on earth invites judgment from the heavens. In a world where humanity once again pushes the boundaries of science, technology, and even genetic engineering, Enoch's warnings feel hauntingly relevant. Are we repeating the same mistakes as the Watchers? Are we reaching for knowledge that may ultimately corrupt us, creating new forms of life we cannot control, tampering with forces beyond our understanding? If the Book of Enoch is truly a record of the past, it may also be a prophecy of the future. And perhaps that is the greatest secret humanity was never meant to know. That our story has always been entangled with beings beyond this world. That the battle between light and darkness is not a distant myth, but an ever-present reality. And that the choices we make today echo into eternity. The Book of Enoch forces us to confront the possibility that what was written thousands of years ago still speaks directly to our time. It challenges us to see beyond the surface of history, to question what has been hidden, and to prepare for a reality far larger, stranger, and more profound than we were ever taught to believe.